Hey, welcome to Cooking with Spencer. Today's video is brought to you by Spencer. This video goes out to Branson and anybody else that tastes his tasty treats after following this recipe. Today we're making tteokbokki. It's a Korean dish, super tasty, spicy, chewy, savory, delicious. So the first ingredient is the main ingredient, and that's going to be rice cakes. So here we have two different types of rice cakes. These are fresh, made at a Korean grocery store near where I live. And these are frozen rice cakes. They're both really good. The homemade ones are much better only because of the diameter of the rice cake size, and just the texture is a little bit more chewy than the frozen ones, but these are great as well. Today we're going to be using the freshly made rice cakes, and those were probably made by some Korean grandma in the back of a grocery store. I'm going to put these back in the freezer and we'll get started. Okay, back up. Do you want me to go over all the ingredients that you need beforehand? I'm not going to do that. I'll put them, check the link and check the description. There's no link. The ingredients are in the description. I might put a link just so you can figure out what it is and then you can find it in your local grocery store. So anyways, I'm using my traditional Chinese cleaver to make Korean food, which doesn't make any sense. There's no connection there, except they're both Asian. So we'll take out our rice cakes, and you can see here they have firmed up a bit. When these were fresh, these have been in the refrigerator for only a day or so. They're a little bit firm and kind of bouncy, but as these cook, they will soften to a magical texture. We'll just get these separated here. And so what you're going to want to do is just chop these up into bite-sized pieces. Now the frozen ones are already cut up into bite-sized pieces. I like some that I like some fat ones for a big mouthful. These do swell up a bit. They absorb moisture as they're cooking. So, ooh, I'm so excited for you guys to try this. Branson, you better do a good job. Actually, you just do your best. And forget the rest. You know what I'm saying? Alright, we've almost got these all chopped up here. And these are ready to put aside. So one thing that you probably want to go ahead and do before you start anything is put some water in a skillet. So let's come over here to the skillet. If you're using fresh rice cakes, you don't need as much water. If you're using frozen ones, you want more. So for the fresh ones, I'm going to use about 24 ounces of water. If you're using frozen ones, you'll probably want to use about 32 ounces of water. We're just going to put that in the pan and get this on high heat and bring that up to temperature. Okay, the next thing that we're going to add is some soy sauce. I got regular kikyo. You'll probably want to do like about 3 tablespoons. I'm probably going to put about a quarter cup, 4 tablespoons in. And I'm just eyeballing all this. You can watch what I'm doing. There's no real way to mess this up. So we got soy sauce in, check. Next we want some sesame oil. Sesame oil from the grocery store or the Korean market. You probably want to put 2 to 4 tablespoons in of sesame oil. Now you want to add some sweetness. You can use sugar, molasses. I'm using Korean rice syrup. This is just a sweetened like corn syrup but made from rice instead. and I'm gonna add about a quarter cup as well. And if that wasn't a quarter cup and you're laughing about it, that's just fine. Okay, the next thing that you need is an ingredient called gochujang. This is Korean hot pepper paste. Okay, this is the hot version. There's a mild, hot, and spicy. So Branson, the version that you had was with hot, and that was pretty spicy. So we're gonna stick with the hot and see. We'll see if the kids can eat it, because they're gonna try it for sure. They go crazy for the rice cakes, and then they're gonna be like, "It's so spicy," and then they're gonna eat another one and eat another one. So you're gonna probably want to add about 3 tablespoons, and you just take a look. That's probably 2 tablespoons there. Pretty sticky stuff. All right, and I guess another 2 tablespoons here will be fine. We got a super important ingredient here. We got a cloves of garlic. I'm not going to mince any of these up. The beauty about this dish is because the rice cakes cook in this basting liquid, it's a sauce that reduces to perfection. But we're going to put whole garlic cloves in there, and they're going to soften, and you'll be able to eat the whole garlic cloves, and it'll be so delicious, and it'll be a dream come true. I'm going to put I guess a handful of garlic cloves in here. An optional but recommended ingredient. Monosodium glutamate. MSG. It's MSG. Alright. I'd probably put about 1/8 of a teaspoon to a 1/4 teaspoon in, which is not much at all. So just like a little sprinkling there. Put that in. Alright, and the only thing that we really have left to do is chop some green onions, but let me try to get this hot pepper paste off of this spoon real quick here. I've got my trusty cooking chopsticks that are extra long to keep your hands away from frying stuff in a wok, or keeps your hands away from the heat. I'm just going to make sure this paste gets dissolved in here and that the sugar gets dissolved. And we'll bring this up to, I guess when it starts to simmer, which it is about right now, we'll go ahead and add the rice cakes that we chopped up. Okay. So I'll grab this bowl of rice cakes and slowly start just dropping these in, making a mess on the stove. This stuff will make a mess, and as it thickens, I'm sure I'll say this again, but as it thickens, you'll want to reduce the heat, just because it'll start like, the more viscous it is, the more splashing it'll do. Ah, it's hot! And like, look at that, I just did that. Horrible, look at that. Anyways, let me get these rice cakes in. Normally I don't have this much trouble, but I'm on camera, so you know. Alright, those are all in. Let me just mix them around a little bit with my chopsticks here. Oh, I lost a garlic clove. Okay, we're safe. Okay, so if you're using fresh, this takes about half the time that it does for the frozen ones. That's why we use less liquid. we do want the garlic cloves to soften as it cooks, so we want to give it enough water for the time for the garlic cloves to soften. The rice cakes themselves will absorb and cook pretty quickly. So we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. And, you know, just don't go anywhere, stay in the kitchen, stir this every once in a while because the rice cakes like to stick to the pan. This is a non-stick pan, it's full of water. The rice cakes will still stick to the pan. So we'll give them a stir every once in a while. So as that's going, we'll finish up the last part that we need, which is some green onions. Here we got some big chunking green onions. I'm gonna use this one. So the first thing we want to do is just get these roots off here. Okay. So what I like to do is separate these into the whites and the greens. So we'll cut the whites off about here. Cut these in half and set those aside. If there's any like super big ones that are pretty fat, you can cut those in half, but I usually don't. I'll take about half of these and cut those in half. Okay. And then these I will cut into rounds for finishing the dish. We'll sprinkle them on top. Okay, and that's done too. So if my camera person will come back over this way, go over that way. Alright, so you can see here that we got a pretty good boil going, and that's fine. We're just going to stir this a little bit. We've got 8 minutes left on the clock. It's been 2 minutes here. Give it a stir. And that's about it for now. Keep stirring and we'll check back in with you. We'll check back in with you however I decide to edit the video. I'll let you know. Right now we're at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, bye-bye. Alright, so we got about 10 seconds left on our 10-minute first time. The first time I set 10 minutes on the timer. 10 seconds to go is beeping now. Alright, ready for the next section here. Where throughout that 10 minutes I've been poking around with my chopsticks. No big real issue with sticking. You can see that the bubbles are now starting to stack up on each other. So that means we're getting a thicker liquid. So the next step is going to be to try to determine how much time you got left on here, because that's going to dictate when and at what stage do we add the white onions, these larger green onions. You know, we'll add these with about 5 minutes left of cooking time, 2 minutes left of cooking time, and these will be finished on top with some sesame seeds. We do want them to cook, but we don't want them too mushy. You want some substance to it. So if we come back to look at this, I'd say that this probably has another 10 minutes or so. I have not reduced any of the heat yet. The cooking time may go up if I choose to reduce the heat, but this is looking okay. So I guess if I said 10 minutes left of cooking time, I'm going to say 7 minutes. So I'll give this 2 more minutes, and then we'll add the white part of the onions. And pause. Alright, so 2 minutes have passed. We're getting a little darker. You can see that the rice cakes are now starting to get like covered by the sauce. It's getting thicker. So we'll go ahead and add these white part of the onions. These kind of mixed in here. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down to medium. You can see like when I pull the rice cakes through it, there's like an empty trail behind it where it's less viscous. It's less viscous, it's getting thicker. So we know we're headed towards the right direction. I wouldn't necessarily worry about any of this burning, like scorching the bottom or anything like that. The rice cakes will stick to the pan, but you know, there's no blackening or burning or anything like that that happens. Just gonna get these in the sauce here. And just continue to poke around, make sure the rice cakes don't stick to the pan. But this is looking good. Alright, so take a look here. We're getting some nice big fat bubbles. They're not really stacking up on each other anymore, but you can really tell that the sauce is getting thicker and coating the rice cakes here. So that's great. It's really only been about, I guess, 2 minutes since I've added the white part, but I'm going to go ahead and add the second largest green part to the top here. And we'll just keep stirring this around basically until it reduces all the way and we're ready to eat it. Which won't be long. I'm going to turn back up the heat a little bit and we'll get this going here. Alright. Again, when the gaps behind the rice cake are getting larger, thickening it up nicely. You can see that these are nice and soft. I can push it with a chopstick and it goes in nicely. I'm just going to keep stirring this and keep stirring this. Now, I mean, honestly, you could stop this at any point for the desired like sauce consistency. I like mine to be nice and tight. So I just keep moving this around until I like what I see. Alright, this is looking pretty good. We're real close to plating this up. Alright, let's go ahead and take this off the heat. Pour this into your serving vessel. Okay, so we're going to just finish this with some of these green onions here, some sesame seeds, and some black sesame seeds. Now, it's too hot to taste right now. It'll burn my lips. This is not a YouTube cooking show where I'm gonna try to taste it and convince you on how good it is. Because Branson can do that. He'll tell you. I ain't lying. So, from my kitchen to yours, this has been Spencer's Kitchen with tteokbokki. tteokbokki. #1 Korean rice cake dish in Korea. Alright, Leave me a comment. Don't subscribe. Peace.